Bobby Drode, says when it comes up on the screen, but I'll read it anyway. There we go. Been saying since PSG, Chiesa is the unknown element. I mean, a bit late to the party, Bobby. I've been saying for like days. Okay. But the point is right. Just to keep with the Chiesa. I'm not letting this go. I've got a lot of.
You've gone further on this.
I have got so much resentment inside my heart over this at the moment. Because I just love him. He's just so, and he's not just there to clap dickhead his way to, a Premier League medal. He could contribute.
He does need a few more games to get a Premier League winners medal if we do get.
Probably at least two.
Yeah,
2 or 3 maybe.
The unknown element thing is right, but because of the nature of it now, we've almost robbed him of that ability to be that. Like I say, Origi gets his moments because he's trusted in important games and important times. Hopefully, he might still, Chris, because if we carry on playing like this, then the league isn't going to be quite as academic as we'd all hoped it was going to be a week ago. But yeah, if it just goes how it's going to go, then yeah, he's just going to be one of them lads who just made the numbers up and probably get moved on in the summer. So look, if we win the league, ultimately, I guess there'll be a point of who gives a shite because he's just a footballer and that. But I don't know.
I really like him. Obviously, I think he's just understands where the goal is. He finds himself in these little pockets of space. I don't think he's anywhere near as quick a footballer as he used to be when we saw him in his pomp. But he can certainly give Salah a break, and he looks like a player who needs a break. And I don't want to get into the sort of religious side of things, but obviously he's been in Ramadan and he's done 120 minutes and 90 minutes. Like he probably needed a bit of a break this week, and Chiesa could have been the player to step up and stuff like that in that regard.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's weird because it gets undersold, but also they're allowed to break it because you can. Someone was explaining this to me. Someone who went to the same mosque, I think it was, as Sadio Mane actually came up and stopped me in Tesco's to tell me about what they were doing, that you can effective, there's ways around it and all that. But I think it's a valid point. Going back to it, Salah's brilliant, and look, I get it. Keep your best player on the pitch because look at him, he's an absolute machine, and you might just get a penalty, and he might just score it. But yeah, just
the Southampton game, just would be the game for me. You could almost go further back than that because knowing in advance there's the potential for 120 minutes and a really tough encounter against PSG, then who knows what the final looks like thereafter. If you want the best version of Mo Salah, maybe you just don't start him against Southampton. Now again, hindsight's 2020, I'm aware, but still, that might have been a Chiesa game. It might have even been a Harvey Elliott right wing game, who knows.
Yeah, no, I completely agree on that one. I want to have a slightly, just kind of expand this conversation out a bit, because he's developed his favourites quite clearly, Chris. It might be a bit early, as I said, in the season, really. There's still a lot of football still to be played, and this will definitely be a conversation that we'll be having come the end of the season when we've got a full set of completed fixtures and what we won or didn't win, to compare it to. But I think this week has shown us more than we've ever known quite what his vision is. And it goes back to your point. There's the rebuild for this summer could be one of the biggest we've seen at Liverpool in recent memory, because it's not just the lads who are going to be out of contract potentially and ones who are on the fringes and aren't good enough, or of the standard, but there's just ones who are just not clearly a tactical fit or not trusted, etc., etc. The chain could be massive in the summer. Yeah,
we've been talking about this off camera for quite some time now as well, and I think to start as a starting point, that super chat from before is probably a good one. I think a left back's going to be needed. It's a right back is going to be needed. Some kind of a midfielder that can give lads breaks is going to be needed. Potentially a centre back, a right winger. You might even need more than that, because I think the saleable assets that we've got in the squad are still the likes of Harvey Elliott, who you could probably still get 40 million quid for. Mm-hmm. Like, that might be one where he goes, well, I don't really trust him in the league or in big games anyway. I'd rather have the 40 million quid and buy someone that I do trust. Mm-hmm. So you might need another attacking midfielder as well. I think, certainly Jota and Darwin. I think definitely one of those players will go. Likely maybe the two of them go by the end of this season. Diaz looks like he's going to be going. Certainly needs a new contract. Kelleher's going to be going. It's fucking huge, man, and we could be looking at like having to actually wheel and deal a little bit with what we've got. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we got what we got for Endo as a transfer fee, you know, and then Timikas is probably going to move on this summer as well. So there's, let's say you get 20 million for those two, you might get 20 million for Kelleher. There's 60 million raised there. You could make that 100 with maybe Harvey Elliott, and you're in the realms of 8 players that you're going to be needing to buy in.
Right, even considering the contract, lads, like you say as well.
Yeah. Without
it's a lot of business, that. But what you want is, I don't think, and I don't know whether you agree on this, Steve, I don't think it can be 5 in, 5 out. I think what we've seen from the lack of use of the squad is we need more players that he can trust. So 5 out, 7, 8 in.
Yeah, and people that can grow into their roles within the club. I've talked to you before. I don't see a world where Liverpool go and spend 55 million quid on a Bournemouth left back. Just don't see it. And Andy Robertson is the blueprint to buying that player and nurturing them into being super successful in that position. So I think we go and do a bit more shopping on the continent for players that have been identified as ready to step into that over a period of time. I mean, Robertson will still be there next season, and it'll be succession planning will be what it is for him. I just don't see him spending 50 million quid on that.
I do. I think Liverpool are absolutely going to buy Kerkez.
I hope so. I love him. He's plug and play. Sorry, just on that quickly on the left back. He's plug and play for the left back because he is Andy Robertson 4 or 5 years. He's Andy Robertson in his prime. Yeah. So Andy Robertson still has games in him to produce that sort of level of performance. He absolutely does, but there's nowhere near as consistent or as regular.
But I think what Steve's sort of alluding to is there are going to be moves like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whether you think it's the left back or you think it's
you're taking Jota for the conversation. You take Jota, Núñez, Diaz out of the equation. A fit Gakpo goes in for Diaz. That's no problem. You spend big money on forwards, you always have, and they'll need replacing. And we look at the lad we played against at the weekend, and then if you listen to the media, we're casting eyes over at Julian Alvarez again. You know, by all accounts last season they tried and it didn't work.
His agent said this, by the way.
Yeah, well, City wanted.
I'm back in this summer for him.
City wanted money and Diaz, and that was the breakdown. They were open to the deal.
Yeah. He's your Jota replacement, by the way, just on that.
Yeah, and he's super clever as well as a footballer.
I love that though. Like the idea, if you let's go, so you buy Isak and you buy Julian Alvarez, then you buy Isak, and he goes,
I've been here before.
So
I'm fine with that, by the way.
That's your £90-100 million marquee signing that then has an impact on all what goes on around you.
This feels like this summer, because that's why I just got to get that league title over the line, and it feels very much like we're feeling like we're reaching the limits of what Slot's capable of with not his squad, and it does leave me feeling very uncomfortable about the future. And I'll be honest, because look, I think we'd have won. I am of the belief we'd have won the league this season if Klopp had stayed. I think we would have done. Because I think this squad needed a bit more coaching time, and maybe we'd have added a couple more players as well in some of the areas that were maybe required. We'll never know. But yeah, I think Slot's done a sensational job of like basically coming in as a caretaker manager of Jurgen Klopp's team, and whatever decision is, whether it means Van Dijk and Salah and Trent are all going to go as well, a decision is, if that's the case, then a decision will have been taken, and it feels much more like in FPL terms, you're not solving this problem with your 2 free transfers that you've accrued. This is a wildcard summer where you've basically almost got to pull it all apart and start again, because you're right. It's like Diaz is the one. You know, Diaz for me should be our 4th or 5th choice forward, and I think if he is, what a fucking sensational attacking lineup we've got. But I don't think he should be in the first 3 of them. He's everything you're looking for in terms of the versatility and the character and the fight and the determination. But even in a season when he's actually been okay in front of goal, he's not been manic in front of goal, which is, exactly. But if you're losing him on top of losing Salah, and then and Darwin Núñez clearly wanted to go in January and was told no, so he's clearly spitting his tummy out on top of all that. So he's going to go, and we'll go fine in isolation with all this, right? You're pulling what's left after you've pulled it all out.
Cody Gakpo is the answer.
Cody Gakpo, yeah. And I still go back to it.
Joe Gomez as well.
And Jaden Dan when he comes back. No, but you're right, absolutely. The Diaz thing, The complication around Diaz, and Chris nodded to it a moment ago, is his contract. He's not had a new one since he arrived. He's going to want a big old pay hike. He's got 2 years left on his deal this summer. So you are at the point whereby you either give him a new deal and you commit to him, or you're cashing on him now. And we all know he's made it quite clear. His dad's definitely made it quite clear. He's got eyes on a move to Spain at one point, in one club in particular. So I think this is a really...
Which club, Dan?
Not seen. So yeah, it just feels like, and you are right, it's seismic, it's upheaval on a different scale, especially for a team that's still likely to win the Premier League. And I don't subscribe to Liverpool have been lucky to be in the position that we're in, but I also kind of have an inclination that Man City and Arsenal will be better off next time around. They will come back stronger and come back fighting. So we need to be prepared for that, because the chances are we're going to need to be better to go and win the Premier League next season.
We have no idea right now how good slot ball actually is.
No.
To the point, because, and I would suggest it's probably pretty good because it's got us where we are in the league in particular. And if he's done it with a squad that he's entirely inherited, albeit he's inherited some of the best players ever to play football, so there is certainly a factor of that, then it should be absolutely fine. It could get even better, but if those things remain, if we don't start the season with access to Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah, whether they're as good next season as they are this season, you've lost so much. And we've never been Alisson. Does Alisson want to stay for another season? There was rumblings last year that he'd kind of had enough. It's all about a good thing. Keller will definitely go. We know we've got a goalie coming in, but there's every chance Alisson does just say, particularly if all them lads go.
That'd be brutal, because Mohamed actually doesn't look ready to me to step into Alisson's gloves at all. But no, you're right, and it feels huge, so huge. But I think it feels necessary as well at the same time.
The potential to win a Premier League might accelerate the end of the era for a lot of those players as well, because it's kind of like the cherry on top of the icing on the cake, isn't it? And now it's like, okay, now I'm comfortable. We proved we could still do it, and I take your point. We could have still done it under Jurgen. Now I'm going to go and look for something else.
So, but just to circle back to your point from before, that's why I also disagree with that thing. I think Liverpool will make big moves because. And look, you can make big moves and still fall back into the wilderness, because if you're starting 5 new footballers in a team, with the expectation that these are the league winners, well, they're not. That's where my fear comes in. Our expectation might cripple us next season, when actually it's going to be a full blown transition year. But Liverpool have got no choice but to make some big moves in the summer, because they just can't afford to gamble too much, because, as you say, City will be back, Arsenal will be there, Chelsea are on the way back up again, Newcastle will be in those conversations. Who knows with Tottenham Hotspur, but they'll be there or thereabouts at some point before too long, and and then there's a list of, I'm probably missing someone really obvious in there, but
Forest.
It's Manchester United, isn't it?
Forest.
But I think Man United are years away, but yeah, Forest, etc. They kind of have to throw it about a bit. It's why I'm not stunned at Isak links. I still think 150 million. I imagine Liverpool spending that. That sounds like a total flight of fancy that they would go to that. But if 150 is the new 75, we've done that before when we really needed a footballer. I feel like they're going to have to go and make some big moves, because everyone's going to want them. There's going to be no shortage of takers for Alex Isak if he's on the market, and Kerkez as well.
I think there'll be a big move. I just don't see a left back. I think when you've got other areas in the team that warrant big money, so if you
I think left back does though. He's
upgradable as fuck, by the way. The left back. Isak is transformative in terms of what we do, in terms of what he brings to the party. Of course, he is. But my point on it more, and you're right in terms of some of the teams you mentioned there. But stand still in this Premier League, and people will catch you up fucking quick. And I'd include Brighton and Bournemouth in that. And we're a long way away from them now. Of course we are. But one bad summer, another bad transfer window, and we'll see what that looks like. Yeah. But in terms of the investment, let's have it right here. We haven't spent any money for a long time. 12 million on Chiesa last summer, that was it. The contracts and what's walking out the door in terms of £200 million plus worth of talent, that's a real fucking problem. Of course it is. But put that to one side for now. We haven't spent big for a while. Even the window when we did the midfield rebuild wasn't elaborate, lavish, eye-watering sums of money left, right and centre. It was good business, and it was really smart business.
We did it for about the price of Caicedo.
Exactly. It was incredible business. Actually, let's go one step further. It was fucking brilliant business. But we've got ourselves into a position now whereby we're sat top of the Premier League with all the money that comes with that, like lucrative sponsors coming in left, right and centre, new kit deal on the horizon.
Another season in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which we took a loss on the previous year in terms of financial statements. So yeah, we are in a position, or we should be in a position now, whereby a big fucking mammoth, gigantic Herculean summer should be plausible.
The thing that's worth considering on this, and this is why I do wonder about the contract situation, is that because as much as we say Liverpool don't spend, they haven't spent consistently huge amounts of money on transfer fees, because also they haven't needed to.
It's been a couple of years since we did that.
Yeah, look, because again, it goes back to they've had a brilliant squad and they've had some brilliant footballers, and as evidenced this season by, if you just kept more of them fit, it made us a more viable Premier League challenging team as a baseline for it. We spend on wages. Our wage budget is right up there, and it's always been competitive. When we've been competitive at the top of the league, we've been competitive in terms of our total wage bill, and particularly wages to turnover, which is going to be even bigger in the next few years as they shift more towards the UEFA financial model. And that's where the reset's going to come. And that facilitates you actually being able to go out and having to go and spend big money. Because as much as it's a huge amount of money to go and buy £50 million left backs, Kerkez is going to come in on probably half of what Andy Robertson's on. So actually across 5 years, you're almost... It's a nice balance. And then you've got room to go. And that's what the summer reset is. You can go and get big... Go and get best in class, but we own best in class already, but they cost a fucking fortune every week. So and it's still tough because I just don't know who you're replacing Van Dijk with if he goes. I don't know who's, that's not a significant drop off, and particularly the output of Salah. But as an example, you could go and get, if you go and get Isak for £150 million, again, he's probably coming in, he'd still be on less than what Salah's earning, and he'd be getting that level of output.
You've also got, we've committed 30 million for Mamardashvili, that's committed, and we're also going to have to pay off the Szoboszlai loan, a £70 million loan against the football club. It's in the accounts.
Yeah.
So if you go and sell Nunes to China for £70 million, FSG are going to go, right, that loan we gave you, we'll have that back, because that's bottom line at the end of the day. So not trying to pour scorn on the conversation, but that's a reality that we may have committed ourselves to.
Yeah, but it is right. But also don't forget, and you might be 100% right, and where it always comes back to, we're edging into ownership conversation, which is fine. By the way, we're fine to have it. It's just that my overriding stance has always been this: is they're not fucking stupid, and it's about the value of the overall asset, and there is no value in them, given that they don't take money out of the club to line their own pockets, a la the Glazers, etc. Then it's all in how big the overriding valuation of Liverpool is in their wider Fenway Sports portfolio. So they need Liverpool to stay at a particular sort of level. So you might be right. They might have to pay off a Szoboszlai loan, for example, but that doesn't mean that they don't just go and pull another one out to pay for whoever down the line if they feel that it's necessary. And what we're saying here is that, I mean, it's never as many players as you think, but also it was wild that we got a new manager in the summer and brought one lad in who doesn't like, that's all, even though he's the best player in the world.
It's also important to remember in all of this, and Chris again alluded to it earlier on, like a lot of what we're talking about here in terms of incomings is going to be offset by outgoings, like it just did, because there's a few lads, contract lads aside, who could and will most likely leave the football club and will recoup upwards of £100 million, I would imagine, comfortably, and there's a player or two or three possibly.
Yeah, and Joe Gomez could be one of those players. Stefan Bajcetic could be one of those players where you get good money for, or he comes back into the fold.
I wonder that with Bajcetic personally, but absolutely. So
there's a couple of options there as well, isn't there? I think the other thing to remember here is they can lose money. You can lose money over the course of a summer. It's just got to be balanced over the course of 3 years or whatever.
And we've been outspent by Arsenal over the last 3 or 4 years because they've been getting to our level.
Yeah, and like you're right to bring up the wages because it is a pertinent point. We do spend really well on wages, but those players are also old now. So we've got to get them back at some point. And for Liverpool's model to work, you have to bring them in at Kerkez's age. He might not be the right player, but Kerkez's age, and then he gets up to that where Salah is now and Van Dijk are and all that type of stuff. So we've got to be smart, understand where we're going. Equally, we know that we're going to have to refresh the forward line. I think that's a given, isn't it? But we're going to have to do it in I think we're going to do it in a big splash this summer, and not as much an FSG normal summer. I do think there is going to be huge movement. And listen, we are capitalising particularly well on what's happened in the Premier League this season. I think you're right. I think it's a transition season next season. Now, that doesn't mean we can't win the league next season, but it also means we're probably not starting as favourites.
Yeah, or we will, but then it'll be stupid to be as favourites.
You just made a really interesting point when you said about if Van Dijk goes, who do you bring in? Well, you take the players that are looking like they might leave City, and who do they bring in? Because those players, they haven't got ready-made replacements for a De Bruyne who's been pivotal to everything they do. That's massive for them. We don't know what Rodri post-ACL looks like. So, everyone's in the same boat. The team that's probably most ready to go with one or two additions.
You've just got to shut the door on Chelsea for me, and you've got to shut the door on any of those other clubs who are trying to get into that top sort of 2-3 positions. And it's going to be tough because Chelsea just, who knows, it's mental how they run. Like, they might just find money out of nowhere, or they'll
sell something.
But yeah, if again, you can't afford to have a summer where you lose any of your top targets, or certainly too many of them, to teams that are around you, because that's what's going to keep us competitive in that. It's going to be exciting. No matter what, it will be a season of change, because it just goes back to it, whether you think they're the worst owners or the best owners, or actually, as most people do, it's just owners. What we've talked about there, if someone's making a decision to let certain number of players go, some people just come to the end of their time naturally. There's not going to be loads there left. There's going to have to be a lot of players brought in just to fill gaps. So yeah, there will be, I think a busy summer, no matter what. But then we've said that before, and they've done fuck all, so who knows?